What's going on, everyone? So far during preseason, the Lakers look good. Both LeBron and Anthony Davis have looked like monsters at points during the preseason. Russell Westbrook really seems to be doing a lot of the things that have been asked of him. He's looked solid. And all these guys are supposed to be playing the last two preseason games, so we should be able to get a better inside look. But everybody, even the role guys, everything, this team just looks really bought in, really focused, and really sort of coming together to have a successful season. And look, it can't be much worse than it was last year, right? Lakers won 33 games. It is, in many people's eyes, the worst Lakers season in NBA history, given the expectations and the talent on the roster. Nonetheless, they very well underperformed. But how will this season work? Now, I have personally said on several occasions that I think the Lakers win somewhere between 52 to 55 games. I think that is not unrealistic. I don't think that is something that's unbelievable. That would put them anywhere in the 4 to 6 range, roughly, based on just the teams in this league. Now, right off the bat, for those that may be thinking, no way, I don't see the Lakers winning, 50 games or whatever. Last year, if you're somebody that believes the Lakers were terrible last year, there is no way you look at the Lakers' current roster and think that they aren't better than last year. So, just on the fact that this roster is clearly better than the roster last season, that these guys are much more committed and things like that, you got to imagine that they're going to win at least more than 33 games, right? So, in your perception, what and how much better is this team? Are they, let's say, at least 10 games better than last year? So, that would put them at around 43 games. Now, just beyond that, which I do think they are better than 10 games, and I think the Lakers would have won more than 10 more games last year if Anthony Davis and LeBron James were healthy. I think they would have made the playoffs. But let's assume that it's somewhere in the 10, let's say 10 to 15 range, right? So that puts them at, the 43 to 48 range, somewhere between there. Now, it could just be with chemistry and stuff like that you end up reaching that extra, 2 to 7 wins, right? It's somewhere in that ballpark. Also, you have a lot of teams that look good that very well could underperform, right? Like, say, the Timberwolves. Like, what if Rudy and, that team just don't work well or they don't mesh well and they fall apart? Stuff like that. Assuming that the Lakers are healthy, because health is going to be a big factor. But this is a team that I believe, even if Anthony Davis and LeBron James miss ample time, that they still could win some games. But the biggest factor, and I think that's something that is just going to help not only the Lakers, but multiple teams that are trying to win games, is because of a guy named Victor Wembanyama, right? There are so many teams right now that are doing absolutely everything they can to tank, to go get Victor. And especially come like around the trade deadline, you're going to see a lot of teams that are just going to blow it up and try to get Victor or Henderson or something like that, one of these other guys, because this is supposed to be a very deep draft with a lot of talent. You're going to see a lot of guys a lot of teams that are just going to start tanking. So you're going to have a lot of free wins out there. A lot of them. I mean, you have teams like the Spurs that every single game that they play, they are purposely going to try to lose. You have teams like the Jazz that are purposely going to try to lose. You have so many teams that are just going to be very bad this year because they want to tank for Victor, that you're not just the Lakers, but again, multiple teams are going to get a lot of wins. Like, even just like the Pelicans and the Bulls and all the teams that are like these mid-tier teams that are trying to win. They're not trying to tank for Victor, but they're trying to win and make the playoffs, stuff like that. A lot of those teams are going to get just free wins this year because teams are going to be purposely doing whatever they can to lose games and lose as fast as possible, because Victor is that kind of talent. He is a once and maybe a multiple generation talent. As good as he looks, his skill set, his size, we have literally never seen a guy like Victor. And he is going to have a resounding impact in the league this year. You're going to have teams that are going to be trading and blowing things up and doing all kinds of stuff to try to be as bad as possible for Victor. And that tanking is going to start very early on. So a lot of these games where, you say you play a team and they're just trying to show up, right? You play a young team, like maybe the Spurs, like you have Spurs with Murray and stuff like that. they weren't trying to make the play-in necessarily from a team standpoint, but the players were. And these guys came out and night in and night out were doing everything they could to try to beat a team like the Lakers, to try to beat a team, that is to an upper standard, I guess. And guess what? This season, a lot of that probably isn't going to happen. Coaches will probably lose their job if they end up winning games. So you're going to see a lot of weird stuff. You're going to see guys like get injured and all of a sudden, they're out 3 months, stuff like that. It's just what's going to happen. So Lakers are going to get plenty of free wins. Are you telling me there's not at least 15 more wins between all of the tanking teams? Because some of those games, they're just going to lose. Some of those games they're going to win. That's all teams, right? Just like maybe some of the games they should have lost, they'll win. And some of the games they should have won, they lost. That's just basketball. When you're playing 82 games in a season, you're going to have lots of games that, you should have won, but you lost. And games that you shouldn't have won, but you did. Stuff like that. But to think that it won't balance out that way, you have probably at least 8 teams that are going to be trying to tank. Purposely trying to tank and trying to lose games. Teams like the Hornets, teams, maybe even the Pistons. You have teams like the Spurs, the Jazz. OKC may still be trying to tank without Chet. Things like that. So you have, again, probably 3 or 4 teams in the West and 3 or 4 teams in the East that are all going to be trying to tank for Victor. Not only are they going to be trying to tank for Victor, but you play those teams multiple games, especially the Western teams. So the Spurs alone are essentially 4 free wins. So you play the Western teams 4 times, you play the Eastern teams 2 times. So say that there is, 8 teams total that are purposely going to try to tank to lose games for the Victor and even just Henderson draft, right? They're going to be doing that. That gives you, just between the 4 teams, that gives you 16 possible free wins in the West. And that gives you 8 possible free wins in the East. So that's at least 24 free wins. And so you're telling me that they can't win half of those, which would be, 12 to 13 wins, right? So you're telling me they can't get 12 to 13 of those wins in the games that they should win on top of being a 33-win team? This roster looks really good. This roster looks great. Could they use like an elite shooter? Sure. But so could most teams, right? There's not very many elite shooters. Could this team use a very sizable wing? Sure. But every team in the league has a hole or has something that could be improved and be better. Overall, this team is literally like 14 guys deep and could be deep. Health is always going to be a huge factor, but this is a team that can win games without LeBron James and Anthony Davis if they need to. Because both those guys are going to miss several games this season. And so this is a team that's well enough and put together enough and has good enough coaching and culture to actually get the job done. So, again, if we put it all together, we had 33 wins last season. This team is at least 10 wins better than last season. So, let's say that puts them at 43, right? Well, if the Lakers have at least 24 free wins, then that would mean that even if they just win half of those, there's 55 games. Even if you don't believe the Lakers are at least 10 games better, that still puts them in the 52 range, especially in the back half of the season, especially towards the end of the season. You're going to have a lot of teams that are just going to pack it up and be done. You're going to have teams that are like mid-tier that are going to say, you know what? Let's just blow it up and just try to get, the next, maybe we get lucky. Let's roll the dice. Like, why are we paying all this money? Why are we doing all this stuff when we have this team locked in? I wouldn't be shocked because Victor is that good. And you're going to have so many teams that even for a 2% chance of maybe acquiring Victor, they're going to do whatever they can to get that percentage. They're going to do whatever they can to get that chance. And so if that happens, I'm telling you, the Lakers are going to get a lot of free wins. And it's not just the Lakers. It's any of the teams that are trying to get. The Lakers, I'm telling you, will be probably a 50 to 55 win team. I think it'll be closer to 55, somewhere in the 52 to 55 range. I think at worst, maybe they're 48 wins. But still, that'd still be good enough to win, be a number 4 seed or 6 seed. To get closer to 55 wins, then you're probably closer to a 4 seed, somewhere around there. Because the 1 seed is probably going to win about 60 games this year. The 2 seed's going to be somewhere around there, 58 to 50, to 60 wins. 3 seed's probably going to be around 55 to 57. So 55 wins probably get you to the 4 seed, maybe even the 3 seed, somewhere around there. But you have a roster, you have the superstars, you have the coaching, you have the culture, you have everything you need to be successful this year. Everything you need. And I really believe the Lakers are going to have huge success this year. I think they are going to be very good, even without the free wins. I think that they have potential to win 50 games. But I do believe that those free wins are really going to help a lot of people, or a lot of teams, the Lakers included, because teams are purposely going to try to lose. Because there has never been a guy this good. This guy. I mean, look at what happened for Zion. Look at all the teams that just, literally packed it up towards the end to go try to get Zion. There were free wins that year. This is Zion on steroids almost. This is huge. This is a team having a chance to draft LeBron or Kevin Durant right now. This is huge. This is insane. So, yeah, I do think that teams are going to give away a lot of wins. Here you go. Any team that you want to win, okay, here you go. Hey, you want to win? Here you go. I think the interesting thing will be watching the 2 tanking teams play each other. It's going to be a game of who just sucks more. That's going to be hilarious. But it's going to be wins. The Lakers are going to win a lot of games. But anyway, again, as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between. Do you agree with my breakdown? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? However you feel, good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between. Let me know down in the comment section.